Now, the United States will quit the United Nations Culture and Education Agency, UNESCO. That is according to the U.S. State Department, and the move takes effect in December next year. The decision is part of President Donald Trump's second-term drive to pull the U.S. out of a series of global bodies, including leaving the World Health Organization. The decision to leave UNESCO is a blow to the Paris-based global organization founded after the Second World War to promote peace through international cooperation in education, science, and culture. The White House cited UNESCO's focus on, quote, divisive social and cultural causes and what it called a globalist ideological agenda for international development at odds with the America First foreign policy. Now, UNESCO disputes these claims and expressed regret at the move. Trump also pulled the U.S. out of UNESCO back in 2017 during his first term as president. Well, let's get more insight into that story. We can discuss this a little further now. We have joining us Professor David Monyae, the director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg, who is also the co-director of the Confucius Institute. He joins us live this hour in South Africa. Professor, thank you for joining us. Once again, this is something that isn't new. The U.S. is once again pulling out of this body. What do you think is going to be the likely impact to UNESCO's programs, especially here on the African continent?
This is unfortunate, but not surprising, given the fact this is the second time that he does this. However, it will have a huge impact generally on multilateralism, further eroding them. And I think for Africa in particular, will feel the impact, given the fact that some of the programs of UNESCO are right here on the African continent, particularly in education, heritage sites, old and new, that needs further collaboration among nations. However, I think Africans would then have to reach out to other regions, as well as to ensure that that gap left by United States is strengthened in terms of funding, as well as protecting these important heritage sites and continual education programs.
Right, and Professor, the White House does cite UNESCO's alleged focus on what it says are divisive social and cultural causes as part of the reason behind its withdrawal from these global bodies. What do you make of such accusations, and do they even apply to a body like UNESCO?
Not at all. They don't apply. But I think to understand this, we also have to understand the domestic agenda that President Trump administration is advancing. It is anti-inclusion. It is anti-non-white, and it is embedded with racism. And therefore, I think work of United Nations, UNESCO in particular, that brings different cultures from all over the world and make them equal. It goes against an agenda of hegemonic Western norms and value, and therefore I think for him it's taking the world back into 1930s and 1940s, where few countries dictated what should be followed, that is Western dominance.
Right, and Professor, most global bodies that the U.S. is quitting under the Trump administration do seem to be helpless about doing anything about it. How maybe can UNESCO even respond to something like this, and how can the UN seek redress or review of such a decision?
I think the contribution of the United States is not that huge. There are quite a number of countries that are progressive, with progressive agenda, that fully support the work of United Nations and multilateral institutions globally, and more cooperation among nations. And therefore, I think some countries such as China and Russia and others will contribute more, including the private sector. There are individuals with resources, and therefore I think it is upon UNESCO to reach out. And the golden window, which is here, the US will only pull next year in December. It gives UNESCO enough time to close the funding gap that US will leave. And therefore, I think we're going to see a world without United States active participation. And therefore, I think the bigger question is, will there be a need to have some of these global bodies sitting in Washington? Even this one sits in Paris.
All right, Professor, thank you very much for your insights on Africa Live. Professor David Monyae, they are Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg, joining us live on the program.